reader is Ramona Reeves. Ramona writes fiction and nonfiction, some of which has been published in literary journals. She's twice been a finalist in the Austin Chronicle Short Story Contest, received a retreat fellowship from A Room of Her Own, and a residency grant from the Kimmel Harding Nelson. Originally from Alabama, she studied fiction and taught at New Mexico State, and now lives with her partner in South Austin. Please help me welcome Ramona.
Thanks for all of you for coming out and supporting all of this. It's really amazing. So as Kirk, as she was going to mention, I don't think you did mention, I was working on a book that's a novel told in stories. And there are two main characters, Babby and Donnie. Most of the stories are set in present day, but the one I'm going to read is from the past, and it informs a lot of the book. And it's the second story in the collection. So this story is called Banshee. Babby was waiting tables when they met at the Lucky Shoe Lounge. Rowan, with his boyish red hair and slim build, seemed shy. The kind of guy who wore a bathrobe after showering, even if he was alone. He liked Duran Duran. She preferred Bon Jovi and Prince. She'd known better than to date a customer, but felt a little sorry for him. He was bouncing quarters into beer mugs while his college buddies slammed drinks and danced with a group of girls like her. Girls who probably lived on the Pine Tree side of Mobile. Babby tried not to laugh when Rowan's quarters careened onto the floor. She had decided to give him some on the house. Beers, that is. When she mentioned going to a club on their first date, he confessed, "I'm not a good dancer. Got my dad's genes on that one." Babby didn't mind. She liked his honesty and admired his knowledge and clean looks. And he seemed to like her big hair and big humor and the way her body curved, despite her short waist. Weeks later, she skipped her period. A month after that, they were getting married. It was 1984. Babby wore her grandmother's satin dress. In old photographs, the dress had been as white as a church steeple, but was now slightly yellowed, frayed at the hem and sleeves. Their parents stood on either side of her and Rowan, looking like the before and after pictures in a magazine. Her father wore an outdated blue leisure suit, and her mother a pair of hot pink leggings, a yellow citrus-colored blouse, and a wide slouchy belt. Rowan's mother wore a beige silk dress, matching sandals, and his father wore good leather shoes. Who gives this woman to be his wife? The judge wanted to know. Babby bit her tongue. Her parents had minimally fed, clothed, and provided her a roof, but that was the extent of their child-rearing. Now here they were, expected to give something away they barely claimed in the first place. Her father hitched up his pants, then waved a thumb at her mother in response to the judge's question. "Me and her." Babby felt the eyes of Rowan's proper parents upon her, the knocked-up bride, barely 19, before they shifted to their son, all of 21. She was blonde and buxom, a pool hall prize. She had coached her father to say it the right way, her mother and I. But as a man who fixed lawnmowers for a living and kept mostly to himself, he was not one to make big efforts. 2 weeks later, Babby and Rowan unpacked boxes and put away gifts in their apartment. Babby held a snow globe, a wedding present from her parents, who'd come by on their honeymoon more than 20 years earlier, a time before MTV, spandex, and Madonna, a time before penniless girls like Babby had choices. As a little girl, she'd adored the globe and wanted to believe it was meant as a blessing for her and Rowan. But more than likely, her parents had not been able to afford anything new and deemed the globe not worth keeping. Quick cash Houdinis, her mother and dad were apt to make things disappear if the price was right. Water had evaporated around the globe's crown, but the glass remained clear and the wooden base solid. Babby shook it and watched white specks jerk and swirl around the Mayberry-like town inside. A spit of dots clung to the waterless top, but most sank onto the painted and fading green earth below. Townspeople, no taller than fishing hooks, stood frozen in the streets, a man tipped a cowboy hat to ladies wearing bustles. A boy wore knickers and chased a wagon along Main Street, and an aproned mercantile owner called to the boy from the door of his business. The little world was nothing like Mobile. No oaks, or dogwoods, or pines, or Alabama trees of any kind. Babby couldn't tell if it was spring or summer inside. In spring, Mobile blushed with the pink cheeks of azaleas, and in summer wore its humidity like a wet t-shirt contest. But the Globestown was seasonless. Rowan read from the inscription on the base. Magical Wyoming. You been there? I haven't been anywhere, Babby said. She'd spent her entire life in Mobile. He ought to know that. Then again, they hadn't known each other very long. On the night they'd met, he bragged about the places he'd been, places like Europe and Hawaii, and how his dad had insisted he join clubs and go to church for connections. Episcopal church, of course. Mine insisted I save him the last beer, she remembered saying. Rowan had let out a squawking sound. She hadn't meant to be funny. Babby searched the apartment's living room for a place to set the globe. The top of the TV seemed like a good spot. That isn't really a shelf, Rowan said. She didn't agree, but was glad he hadn't teased her about the object or suggested they keep it inside a shoebox. What about the kitchen table? The kitchen it is, Rowan replied, and then as if remembering something he'd forgotten, but my mom will expect to see the dried centerpiece on the table. She paid a lot of money for it. I don't like dead things in the house. Babby had never kept seashells or dried flowers indoors. Bad luck, her mother always said. But the arrangement is a centerpiece, he insisted, as though this made the difference. You can dip a dead cockroach in gold paint, she said, but that won't make it a diamond ring. Rowan chuckled. The things you come up with, he said, we'll figure it out.